Hello, everyone. I'm your host, April Hanna, and this is the Path 11 podcast. Just a reminder, we are offering access to all of our archive shows, which is well over 100 hours of content, and new bonus shows such as the Virtual Book Club, Food for Thought Friday, and the 2-Minute Tuesday, all for just $3.99 a month. Think about it, guys. That's less than the cost of a pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks. Sign up for premium for just $3.99 a month. Now let's get to this week's show. Okay, and for today's show, we have our guest, Miananda Maitreya Shekinah, who is a celestial being brought into body directly from Source. Miananda has come to heal, lead, unite, liberate, and inspire the ascension and graduation of humankind. She heals by co-creating miracles through Source, removing suffering and activating love through the high heart. During her 6-day coma and death initiation at 33 years old, Miananda was shown her mission. She would undergo countless transformations and complete relinquishment of the self to fulfill it. She is in service and honor to God and humanity at all moments and now serves this earth as an embodiment of the Divine Mother, also known as the Shekinah. Miananda has been sent in this time of great prophecy to prepare the way and eventually give birth to a radiant new earth. Through Miananda's presence, numerous spontaneous healings have been reported all over the world, and many are able to feel her amazing divine love. Being close to her has been described as a feeling of coming home. Miananda is preparing with Source to commence mass group healings soon, and we will have more information in the show notes where you can reach her through her website. But Miananda, welcome to the Path 11 podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
You're welcome. And so I'm sure our listeners might be a little taken back to say, what? You're interviewing a celestial being brought into the body? What is this? So I'd like you to kind of, if you don't mind, starting off with what happened at 33 years old with this death initiation and your coma that led to this ascension happening to you.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, that makes perfect sense and is understandable that people would want to understand more about that. So at 33 years old, I went through what I have come to call and understand as a death initiation, where my previous physical manifestation that prepared the body and had a full-on human experience was exchanged so that I may enter into a multidimensional consciousness in full presence.
So explain, so when you came out of your coma, like how did you know that this happened?
So that's a great question. They call this in spiritual circles a walk-in or a walking in when a presence comes into a physical body. This happens, it doesn't happen very often at all, but it does actually happen. And it can happen when a contract is up. So there are soul contracts that everybody has. And some have contracts with their multidimensional expressions in the higher octaves to when a part of their soul's mission is complete, they rotate out. So how did I know this occurred? Well, it was very much like starting learning all development all over again. It was as if my life was not my own at all. And I had been shown this before coming into body. I knew exactly what was about to happen.
All right. So if I'm understanding it too. So, okay, let's say I'm April. I go into this coma and I have a death initiation, and then my soul contract, in a sense, has ended, and I have a walk-in that comes in. When I'm waking up, am I still April and know that I'm April, but also know that there's this other divine presence that has entered into my consciousness or into the physical body?
That's actually a very accurate description and depiction of it. Yes. I also, I was So when this occurred, there was no, light or tunnel or time spent watching myself and family and friends and all the beloveds who had shown up on all the various ways to come during this process. I was taken directly to the highest of councils, where we were talking about what we were going to do with the earth and the planet, and that it was time for me to allow my ascended master consciousness of Sananda and Lady Nada of the Christos to enter my vessel so that I may really begin the soul's work.
And are there ever moments where the soul's work isn't being done and you're able to just be of the physical body and of your old consciousness and just kind of like go about your day-to-day stuff, go food shopping, interact with people when it's not always about healing?
No, not really. I mean, in the way of, if you were to watch or witness my movements, of course, that's what you would experience, right? I would be food shopping. But there are always deeper levels and deeper, there's healing at every moment of my presence.
Okay. And I have to ask, how did your family adjust to this? I mean, what did you do beforehand, before this happened? And how, in hearing this, I'm sure that there are some skeptics or some people that say, what's going on here? And has your family accepted this, or have you had any challenges with people understanding what is happening?
And my family has accepted it completely. They are just deeply in awe of everything. Even the doctors had said, this. They called this vessel, the body, the miracle child. There was just no way, and that obviously I had really huge work to do in this world. I came back completely whole again. They didn't think that I would be able to, even walk, or that it would take me a long time to do these things. And I was perfect, absolutely perfect when I came back out in terms of the physical structure. So, the family, I'm so blessed to have chosen to incarnate into a family that is so absolutely amazing. Do they understand? Yeah, absolutely. They do. They've watched me, through God, perform all sorts of things that defy their understanding of anything, physics, science, everything that they've known. So they're in witness, and we're so very close, very, very close with everyone in my life.
Wonderful. And what exactly brought you into the coma? What was the incident that brought you to that place?
It was a strain of meningitis that they hadn't apparently seen in, a very, very long time. And it all happened very, very quickly. All of my organs failed. And I do have memory of doctor standing over my body and saying, she has, 20 minutes left to live if we don't, do X, Y, and Z. And that was kind of one of the last things that I remember. And I remember looking up and going, okay, I feel complete. I remember that very clearly, like, okay, I'm done here. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, can you begin to educate our listeners a little bit about what it is that you are transmitting to people in the world? As I'm on your website, it says that you transmit the Christos, or feminine aspect of the Christ for the Aquarian age. So if you can explain that a little bit more in layman's terms, that would be helpful.
So, it's really the transmittal of a frequency that you've known as the Christ consciousness that's been here on the planet for thousands upon thousands of years in various forms through various beloveds who have brought it through. The feminine aspect of the Christ is one that has not been spoken of very often or known about very often. And so it's about bringing it through in a feminine vessel in a female vehicle as well, working with the energies of the divine feminine, so as a manifestation of Divine Mother.
All right. And can you explain a little bit more about how you activate the spiritual DNA?
Well, through sacred geometry and through the sound currency of the harmonics of this universe and other universes. The spiritual DNA is DNA that has been deactivated through time. And it is now upon the planet where you must activate your DNA to be able to ascend. This is part of the ascension. It is part of the coming forth and becoming love again, not seeking love, not looking for love outside of the self, but in fact recognizing your own divinity. And this is a part of that.
So how exactly, when you do the healing with sacred geometry, like how is the DNA actually healed? Are you changing the output of the DNA? Or what exactly is being
structure, the DNA, the coding? Each beloved is coded in a certain way, and so we check to see what your coding is, what it needs to be for your highest vibrational reality timeline, how we can activate all the various levels of your multidimensional expression so that you can begin to express your truest, highest self.
All right. And in this as well, it looks like some of the work that you explain that you do is working with the karma of a person and being able to stop and release the karmic wheel. Can you describe that?
Correct. So that, yeah. I know that these are complicated and not very commonly discussed things. So I appreciate your questions. So the karmic wheel is the wheel in which a person, a soul, comes through over and over and over again, oftentimes having the same patterns, the same fears, the same connections with different souls that they encounter. So the karmic wheel is, it's very important to be able to stop it in many ways so that a person can become liberated from what's called samsara, the cycle of death and rebirth. So what does that mean? It means that, I am a fully liberated being, which means that I don't have karma and I don't make karma, right? I'm free of that cycle. And to be able to, let's say somebody has a relationship pattern that they can't break, or a sickness or an illness that the doctors can't find, they don't understand what's wrong. It's very oftentimes coming from a past experience or even a concurrent experience, as many timelines are occurring at the same time, even in the different dimensions and different parallel worlds. So I work with all of that, the dimensions, the parallel worlds, everything that is in the unseen realms I'm able to see.
So this reminds me a little bit of people that would do past life regression to break any vows or soul contracts, or to have an understanding of possibly what is going on with patterns in this lifetime that could be connected to past lifetimes.
Sure. I don't need to do the regression, though. I can just naturally do it very quickly, in just a minute or a few seconds.
And how is that actually possible? I mean, that almost sounds like, then why wouldn't everybody just be coming and in like a couple of minutes? That sounds pretty phenomenal.
It is, and it is, and everything is possible through God. There is nothing that is impossible. It's a matter of allowing the mind to expand itself and the heart to expand itself even more than the mind, to understand where you come from. You come from the infinite, and therefore the infinite is possible.
And would you heal all beings? Let's say somebody is coming to you and they know that they have something going on with their karmic patterns, and they know that you do this work, and they come to you and they say, work your magic, please do this for me. are you given access to heal all people, or are there some times when you are not given permission because it's not of the highest and greatest good for this soul to be healed of that because there's more learning to be done?
Great question. I don't need permission because I'm not a part of the collective. I'm coming from a different place. So I don't need the permission. But with that said, the reason I don't need the permission is because I'm so very clear with never usurping someone's free will, their soul's plan for themselves. And yes, so what I'll do is I'll check in with the soul, the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind, the spirit core, etc., to find out exactly where the resistance is coming from and what the lessons are. And so there are times when I'll say, okay, so what we need to do is basically expedite these lessons in a way. What are the lessons? Okay, great. So I'll have somebody, feel, for example, if there's a fear of romantic connection or intimacy, where do you feel that in your body, and work from there. Within minutes, that fear could be absolutely extinguished, and therefore so could the lesson. And thus, from there, we'll move the healing on. Does that make sense? I'm happy to continue to explain these things. These things are not logical. They do not work with the rational mind. And so being able to explain this using the ephemeral human brain as its as its filtration system isn't always going to make sense, but I will do my best.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a very complicated process. And really, when we're talking about these things, there really are no words. So trying to explain this in the, human language is very, very difficult, because you're trying to, basically use metaphors and symbols to explain something that is not of verbal language.
And it's not tangible.
Right.
You can't touch it. You can't taste it. You can't, but you can, in fact, have a full experience with it. And so thus it becomes experiential. And so how the body is able to release very quickly in that way. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, so there is an honoring of the free will, but I guess where...
Always.
Okay. Always. But is it always in somebody's greatest good to come to a healer like you to get a healing? If I guess what I'm just thinking of are people that maybe either do they want the easy way out? Do they not want to suffer through whatever pain or challenge this is? And, if you see somebody and you go to your website and you read all of these things that you can do, and you're saying that people can be healed instantly within minutes, and say somebody is going through cancer, but what if the cancer was there to teach them certain soul lessons in order for them to evolve to a higher level of consciousness, but that healing takes place and then they don't go through the whole process of the cancer, and they're not learning what was contracted in the soul contract before they came, and then does that affect the outcome of their consciousness?
Great question. I've seen that many times, as a matter of fact. And, again, the honoring of the free will and the soul is very, very important. Is it always necessary to go through, that's a belief system. The belief system says, I need to, work as hard. You need to, drudge through the snow to get to, wherever you're going. These are very, very old realities. These are old paradigms. And as the quickening of the energies and the quickening of the solar, the solar flares and all the energies that are coming into the planet right now. And as time quickens, it's not necessarily needed like that anymore. That's an old paradigm of understanding. You can, in fact, move through consciousness much quicker. That's the blessing that's being given right now. And that's one of the reasons why myself and others who are liberated like me are here to facilitate faster liberation for you, for those who choose, and only for those who choose. We are here only just in service. just in presence and in service for those who feel called, feel it in their hearts. This isn't something that you feel in your mind or in your brain, right? This is something that is going to come from your heart. Allow your heart to feel its truth and basically forget everything that you think you've ever known, because spirit is expanding every moment, every second you take breath or don't take breath. And so to hold anything or anyone to where they once were is a massive limitation.
Well, when you mention that could be like a belief system of that you have to go through this suffering, or it's an old paradigm, are you saying that like some of the old texts and what's been taught in like reincarnation? I mean, a lot of stuff that I've read about certain soul contracts, lessons that we have to learn, the way that the consciousness grows and evolves, that those are just old belief systems that don't really exist anymore, and that all of that text and writing is really not accurate?
It's interesting. Truth and accuracy, there are many different narratives, and there are many different reality timelines and many different paradigms within those. And everybody who's at a different level of consciousness creates their own reality and what it is that they want or wish or feel that they need to move through. It is, I would never say that that's not accurate. It is that it's not necessary. It's not always necessary.
So then would we say that what it is that you're practicing doesn't carry the same belief as Buddhism and reincarnation, but what you're talking about could also possibly be a belief system as well?
Well, anything and everything that you have to think about or that you can act upon could be a belief system. To bridge this, there is no belief system here. This is just the possibility of all that can exist through God. Through God's love, through God's eyes, through Source. Is there a belief system with that? It doesn't feel that way to me.
So in the Christ consciousness, it's basically, if I'm understanding it correctly, that, and I'm just comparing this, say, to Buddhism, just to, for sake of comparing the two, that there really doesn't need to be any suffering, and that all individuals are allowed to experience ultimate healing with no suffering, because that's their God-given right.
Absolutely. And, these tenets were brought forth at a time of some of the darkest times in history. And there were, there definitely has been a need to sort of a paying of the fall of consciousness, etc. But, that's happened already. How long do we perpetuate the same kind of being on a hamster on a wheel is what I'm seeing. I'm being shown like a hamster on a wheel. It just kind of keeps going over and over and over again. And that's the cycle of death and rebirth. And that's a beautiful, beautiful cycle. But what would it be like to have death and rebirth and not have to go through the suffering and be here to hold love for all and hold love for the self more than anything else, to be able to really be a self-generating, fully liberated being, to then choose and manifest from the space of that which is healed and not which is unhealed. Most people manifest from the unconscious or places that are unhealed and not the spaces that are in full wholeness. And thus, even though someone says, Miananda, I really want a relationship. It's what I want more than anything. Or I really want to heal. And I go in and I say, okay, let me take a look at the subconscious or the soul. And the soul says, no, I've done terrible things in the past. I don't deserve it. And thus begins a self-punishment pattern or programming, right? So we go in and remove all of that because it's just not necessary anymore. And let's believe that it is, and then it will be.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I mean, other people that, I have interviewed or talked to too, says that many times the souls will carnate into the physical body and come to planet Earth because Earth provides us a lot of contrasts in order for us to experience different suffering, different pain, relationships, trying to, obviously, I think the goal is to move more towards compassion and love, but Earth, tends to be an interesting planet that provides us with that suffering, though, however, and the contrast.
It is the only free will zone, which is what makes it so amazing and such an incredible school to learn on. This is I like to call it the hall of mirrors. Everybody and every single being that's in your collective is a reflection of that. It's a reflection of you. Because you don't always know exactly what you look like at that moment, right? So you need to see that mirror to be able to find the places that are needing and calling your love and attention, or that are unhealed within you. And so this is a game of polarity integration. There are many verses. This is a universe. There are, multiverses and omniverses and oniverses. And what is a verse? A verse is a song. It's a harmonic convergence of energies. This is just one of them. There are many schools, April, many schools. This happens to be one where this is about coming from separation to unification. There are other schools that are different, that go from oneness to what does it feel like to be in separation. And so, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you had said something that I haven't heard before. Now, and I don't know if I heard you correctly, but Earth is the only place where free will can be exercised. There isn't free will in other dimensions?
Not like this.
What would the free will, look like in other dimensions? Or what? Can you explain that a little bit more? That's interesting.
In other dimensions of Earth, in other dimensions of consciousness, would you like to be a little bit more specific with that? I'm able to see and experience just on a different scale. So tell me what you're talking about.
Sure. Well, I don't know. I mean, just hearing that made me, I guess I thought of maybe the angel realm. If a consciousness wants to become an angel, do they have the free will to say yes or no? Or is there not that ability to be able to choose, or are you just assigned?
In the higher realms, you become aspects of a larger collective. It is not the same as an individual free will. No.
Okay.
It's always in service to the greater, the grander, and to the highest good.
Okay, great. One of the things that I'd like to talk about, too, is numbers. And you use the number 333 frequency. And, you kind of explained, with this happening at the age of 33 and, let's see, your awakening to full consciousness was on 10-10-10.
Correct.
So I like to play with numbers myself. Can you talk a little bit more about the 333 frequency?
The 333 frequency allows a beloved to move from the time-space continuum into a completely different field of experience. It is the frequency of the ascended masters, and thus this is why I work with that frequency as well. It also happens to be one of the highest frequencies that a beloved can process in their body safely and in small doses.
Okay, and why is that? Why is that number able to be processed more easily?
It's just a vibration. You mean than other higher ones? Because the body is dense, April. The body has extreme density to it. It's a carbon-based structure, right? The physical body, your body is a carbon-based structure. And because of that, it has density and it moves at a slower vibrational rate.
Right, and I understand that, but other frequencies, like what if people chose 444 or 999? What's the difference between that?
The rate of Well, it connects with different planes of existence, and it's the rate of which the acceleration moves through it. The 333 is aligned with certain beings as well that come in and assist.
Okay, and which beings are those?
The Ascended Master being.
Okay, and then would you like to take our listeners through maybe the different levels and the different numbers of what that pertains to? So what would 444 be?
It's not a very simple explanation, so I think probably maybe another time. 444 often relates to Archangel Michael. A lot of people talk about numbers, and there are many, 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 many different interpretations and understandings and the wisdom behind the numbers and the geometry of those numbers as well, and how that relates to your life. So whether you see 444 on a clock or 333 on a clock, or whatever it is, 1111. Different portals, different understandings, different beings that are connected with that.
So you primarily just work with the 333 and the Ascended Masters?
No, I don't have a limitation with what and who I work with. There is no limitation.
Okay. All right. So can you also explain to us what actually happens during the Ascension process?
Sure. So the Ascension is physical, it is spiritual, it is mental, it is emotional, it is etheric. It is on all of the levels of all of the many bodies that you have. It is a return to love. It is a bringing forth of the light body of your Merkaba, so that you can. This is about ascending in body, not leaving the body in order to experience that liberation and that ascension. Terra is your three-dimensional earth. That's why, extraterrestrial, etc. That means outside of Earth. And Gaia is your fifth-dimensional expression of Earth, which is where everyone is moving towards in their own ascension process. Why is there an ascension right now? Because she's going back to her home in the fifth dimension. And so thus, if anybody wants to come and stay on the earth, they need to be moving in that direction. There is, however, a hologram of the earth where those who wish to continue working with the older paradigms can do so in their own, and go through their lessons in their own time, in their own perfect moments of their divinity as they wish. But it will not be with Gaia. It will be a different vibration.
And are you aware of how many other people are like you that are walking this earth and providing these healings to people?
Fully liberated, not many.
10, 20, 100?
I actually don't ask these questions ever, because these aren't things that occur to me to ask. But let me see what I receive. They're laughing. Okay. So they're not, when you say like me, there aren't. When you say those who are absolutely fully and completely in service, holding incredible high vibrational frequencies, and able to do incredible work through God without any sort of filtration system, that's a different question. So I think I'm going to answer the last one.
Yep, that would be great.
I'm getting about 360 or so.
Do you know if...
liberated. That means liberated people.
And are those people out in the open, like, even though they're not you or like you, but, if the healing, if this ascension process is trying to move towards compassion, love, and healing, are these beings coming out more so that they can be found, so that people can approach them and look to heal themselves?
No, not all of them, not at all. It takes quite a bit of courage to step in and say, okay, if process that I've undergone. This is why I'm here. This is where I'm from. For the human collective doesn't quite understand and doesn't always honor. And so there are many who live in caves or on top of mountains. And this is why the great sages have stayed where they've stayed, is because coming down here, working and doing this work can be, of course, terrifying. And yet it's absolutely necessary. And so there are many that I've even seen, that I've been shown, that are working through any resistances to coming forth. And not everybody that is here wants to do that, or is that their contract. They may just be here anchoring down incredible amounts of light and silence. And that brings incredible healing as well.
And what would you say is the best way to ascend? And is there anything that we can do on a daily basis to allow that process to happen more easily?
That's a great question. Is there any, let me just repeat that to myself for a moment. What's the best way to ascend? Well, the best way to ascend is without resistance and in full surrender to the divine. For the divine plan is infallible, no matter what it appears. To stay away from the poison of the fear-based realities outside of yourself, like the media or the news, or anything that creates a dissonance or a discordance of patterning within the body, within your divine walking altar of the high heart. Anything that prevents that will continue to bring forth energies, thought forms, belief systems, patterns, negative motivations, blocks, interferences, anything of the like will continue to keep you in a looping pattern with it. And that will prevent ascension.
And I'm assuming too that like meditation would be a great practice and a way to be able to tap into a different vibrational energy.
Absolutely. Meditation is wonderful. What meditation, it does many things, but certainly one of the things that it does is to quiet and still your mind, which therefore then allows other channels to open. And that also can, in fact, if you take it far enough, assist with the activation of your spiritual DNA as well. It allows the pathways to open up in a very different way than your busy beta consciousness, right?
Right. And what kind of people have you found that have come to you that you've worked with that you have provided miracles to?
I just want to be clear. Everything happens with source and through source. So I'm here as a manifest form of Divine Mother, but nothing happens without God. So it's important to clarify that. What kinds of people? All kinds of people, from the most dense of experiences and incredible pain, suffering, trauma, disease, to the highest, sweetest, most loving vibration of somebody who their body vessel is in light body, and they're able to instantly feel the work immediately. The healing happens in their witness instantaneously. So does that answer your question? Because from all walks of life, from everywhere.
Sure. And how long has this walk-in been? How long has it been since the walk-in came in? So you were 33, and if we were going by age here on Earth, how old are you now?
I'm 40.
So
and I've had more than one walk-in since then, and this is part of this grand transformation. Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that there's more than one being working through you, or that they take turns in essence?
Neither. When you get to a certain point, you become all of them. There isn't a separation the way that you're perceiving it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. I get that too. Yep. And then are you also looking to do less individual work and do more work on a global level?
Well, that is Source's plan. But right now there's been a decree that we brought forth at the end of September, that was all beloveds on the planet must break the ego, the negative ego elementations of their creations on a day-by-day understanding, which means there are many who feel that they want to do it by themselves, and they will, if that's what they want. But that's not the heart that speaks. That's the ego that says, oh, I can do this by myself. And this is how the children came to be anyway, and how children separated from Mother, Father, God. They wanted to do it. You wanted to do it yourselves. And so you continue to want to do it yourselves and turn away, in many levels and in many respects, turn away those of us who have come. And remember, those of us who have come throughout history have always been received in the same sort of a way, skeptical and not true, and dishonored, killed, whatever. So we're used to that. It doesn't mean we won't come back over and over and over again with the greatest joy and the greatest love and the greatest sincerity and the highest heart.
Right. And talking about kind of ego and fear and media and all of that, which can stop the ascension process, do you have any words of comfort to people in the world today that are looking at our government, that are looking at all of the catastrophes, the deaths that are occurring? People who are watching the news tend to be very fearful and frightened. And, I hear people almost say that it feels like we're going in the opposite direction. And what kind of words of comfort would you bring to people to let them know that even though what we're witnessing is too a part of the ascension process, and how can human beings move in the world with more peace and understanding and less fear with the state of the current world today?
Thank you. Well, that's a great question, and I'm going to do my utmost to respond to that. So what is being exposed in the world right now is the mirrored representation or reflection of the old belief systems, the old religions, the old ways, and the shadow elements of those who do not wish to or absolutely refuse to go within themselves. Warring nations do not only exist outside of the self. Warring nations occur every day in the way that you treat yourselves, in the way that you treat your neighbors, your friends, those that you love, your family. Warring nations occur within your own consciousness, to eat, to not to eat. These battles are consistently happening. They are now being expressed and exposed in what's considered, quote, the outside world. Those of us who live in another paradigm, we don't experience these things. This is not my reality. This is not the reality of many who are in a higher consciousness. We keep away from anything that lowers or dilutes our ability to be in the highest love. If you stopped watching the news, it would cease to exist. The perpetuation of the violence would cease, for nobody would be listening. Nobody would be giving it attention. Because what you give attention to is what you create more of. April, if I was to make you understand or do my best to explain that there are beings, just as you eat food, right? We eat food, that is your sustenance. There are beings of consciousness that feed only on consciousness. There are those that are fear beings and create fear. And there are those who are beings of love and create and amplify more love. What is it that you're feeding is what you will create and have more of in your life. That is a guarantee.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I was hoping we could do a live healing, which would be really fun.
What type of live healing were you thinking of?
Well, is there anything, April, that you would like to have shifted? I mean, the cold is interesting. Yeah, absolutely. We can remove the virus and all of that, and that will help you. But is there anything that you would like to have shifted that you can viscerally experience in the next few minutes? Something in your life that's been a part of your experience for so long. Anything physical, emotional, mental, spiritual.
Yeah. I mean, how big do you want me to go?
Big as you like. As big as we have time for. I have my own show that I'm hosting in about an hour, but I have a little bit of time before that. But I feel that it would be really powerful and important for those listening to experience it and feel the frequency and the vibration as it moves, if possible.
Sure. Well, I usually, tell my clients, go big or go home, right? Play it deep. So I'll play it deep. I guess if I were to think of a pattern that has been reoccurring that I haven't been able to quite figure out how to shift, which stemmed from early childhood in connection with my mother that struggled a lot with addiction, both alcohol and drugs. That is something probably, as a healer, I understand cognitively a lot of reasons why many people with addictions have come into my life. And, the whole psychology aspect of probably trying to heal the wounded child of what had happened in my childhood, trying to heal the mother that was not able to be fully supportive. But it is still a situation that is continually reoccurring, and that it's been very hard to find relationships with people that are not struggling with addictions that come into my life. So that would be one of my biggest, if I were looking at my karmic wheel or a pattern that has caused a lot of disruption in my life that I could change, it would be that.
Excellent. Let's go there. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do is very simple. And so let me explain. When I do work with somebody not on air, I'm oftentimes very silent. I don't need to say anything or even do anything. If you watched me, you would literally watch me in stillness. There would be no movement or necessarily anything that takes place. It's all happening. But because we're on air and for all intents and purposes, I'm going to have you close your eyes and drop in to where that is holding in your body. Where do you feel that? So I'm seeing 8 years old show up in relationship to the mother. The energy of betrayal. Where do you feel that in your body, April?
Well, obviously heart and throat.
Okay, perfect. And so rate that from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most intense.
I would say maybe a 6 within the heart and 7.5 in the throat.
Okay, so I'm seeing about an 8.5. So let's go ahead and bring it up even a little bit more. Really, really drop in and let yourself experience all of the layers, all of the depths, going to the deepest layers, deepest core for which this is taking place within you. So as you do this, I'm going to explain a bit to the listeners that your outside world is a direct reflection of that which is happening inside of you. And as April has stated, the beloveds in her life have dealt with addictions and these sorts of issues as well. And so she would like to be able to invite a different frequency and a different energy into her life, because that's going to help her ascend as well. That's going to help her in her levels of consciousness in a great way. But as she has explained before, this is a part of her lesson, and this is a part of her cycle, and this is why she hasn't been able to move out of it yet, because she hasn't quite learned. And so we're going to do what we can today to assist this. And first, we're working with the visceral experience. So where are you now with that, April? Has it changed up at all?
Yeah, I feel like it's moved a little bit up out of the heart, a little bit more locally in the throat, which logically I would think it would have stayed in the heart, but feels more in the heart and in the throat and eyes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to begin now. Now, of course, I say I'm going to begin, but we've already begun. Even before this, we even decided to do this, we were already working. So, okay, let me know when it shifts completely. When you feel a shift. You don't need to do anything. Nothing at all. Just surrender.
Okay, I feel something has shifted, and I feel more of an opening in the crown chakra.
Perfect. How does that feel now?
Feels better.
Okay, rate that from a scale of 1 to 10. We want it to go to a 0.
3.
Okay, continue then. Is that out of 1 yet?
Yeah, that feels better. Can I just say what I'm experiencing?
Please do, yes.
Okay, so when she asked me to go back in and it was a 3, so each time I go in, I feel a feeling of nauseousness. So I kind of feel very sick, like I want to throw up. And then in that last one, so what the process is, it moved from the heart to the throat, up to the crown chakra, and it almost feels as if my energy body is being pulled up higher, as if the energy body is growing very tall, like I could be about 8 feet. And yes, and the last going from a 3 probably down to a 1 or 0, but it's interesting that feeling of nausea came, and I saw almost like the best way to picture it, and again, it's just a metaphor, but like a string that was being pulled up and out, almost like a thread. Looked more like a golden thread, actually.
Yes.
Coming up and out through the core of the body and up and out through the crown chakra.
Beautiful. And now with that, I'm going to work on the holographic images and anything other related to that. So I want you to pull up an image that's been really disturbing in your mind. And then I'm going to basically erase it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so rate that image from a scale of 1 to 10, my love.
10.
Okay, great. Let me know when it shifts and changes. Oh, I feel that in my heart core very, very deeply. All right, so thank you just to witness, not to experience. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, working with the holographic imagery. A lot of energy of lost is continuing up, so we're just going to move the energy signatures out. Okay, letting you know that your structure is being fully and completely supported as we permeate at what percent? 100% permeation, thank you. So it's very important to let everyone know that the reason that my ability is to permeate at 100%, it's different in earth modalities. Earth healing modalities can only permeate at very small percentages. And this is why it takes so long to really go ahead and heal anything. And so because as Divine Mother, I'm able to hold the structure in place, then the vessel is able to release at a much deeper level. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that was important. I was told that I needed to share that. Sometimes, I don't have thoughts. And so it's all about the transmission. So I'm just receiving. Okay. Yeah. So let me know how that looks now. Let me know if it's gotten any fuzzier, if you can't bring it up anymore, anything of the like.
Yeah, definitely the image was fuzzier. It's interesting. The first thing that I thought of is not what we ended up working on. I was reminded of something much deeper that needed to be healed.
Okay.
So, yes. So I would say that it's not as visual, like
Clear.
Clear, yes. Can't see it as well.
So we want to continue until it's absolutely gone, until there's absolutely no part within you that's holding this. With your permission, of course. April?
Yep. Sorry, I'm just trying to get there.
No, I said with your permission.
Oh, yes.
Because it can be very intense, and so I want that to be known to everybody. I've had people come in and absolutely had the most intense experiences of their life, and then, so I want to make that very clear. It doesn't have to be that way, but it certainly can be. Okay, what's holding? Clear. Yeah. Thank you. It's coming out of her. What else? Again, the energy of lost is just a pervasive energy here. So we're going to take that and lift that all up, the entire bandwidth of lostness and lost. Releasing and clearing from all timelines, all realities, all dimensions, from the entire space-time continuum, all planes of existence, all parallels, and all other of or related, thereof and thereafter now, throughout the all. And creating a separation. And an expansion. And what percentage of the holographic body is still needing to be worked on? Okay, continue. Lost again. Emotional body, mental body, physical body, spiritual body. Okay, heart, mind, body, spirit, and soul. Clear all. A full and complete vanquishment now of the entire holographic memory. Going into the cells now. Morphogenetic field. Initialize. Begin recoding. Let me know when you start to feel the actual recoding that's taking place, darling.
I would say now.
Perfect. And how does that feel and look for you now? This deep, 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 deep occurrence for you, this deep healing that was needed.
I could definitely feel a different vibration in my body. It definitely feels clearer, lighter. I don't feel like I can still recall the image, but it feels more as if, just looking at something on a TV screen rather than taking ownership and emotional attachment to it.
Okay, so we're going to work on making sure that you don't recall it anymore, right? So even in this situation, we would not be complete. We're not complete until it's not there anymore. True forgiveness, my love, is pain that never existed. And in any way, shape, or form, anybody, any being in the world must forgive. You must forgive the external appearance of the world, and you must forgive that which in yourself. For anything that is not forgiven, you are anchored to, and will continue to perpetuate itself. So we're working with that now. So for the listeners, go ahead and rate your ability to see that image now. And then we're going to, the reason I use numbers is for measurement, for you. It's not for me.
Well, I guess to visually see, it's much less, it's more of a thought, if that makes sense. Like, I still know this story to be an incident that happened with my mom. So when I talk about it, I can't visually see how gruesome it was. I'm not attached to that, but it's still a memory, it's still a thought, but doesn't carry the emotion that it did when we began.
Okay, perfect. We want to still remove the memory and the thought. So I'm going to ask now what it is that you're holding on to and why you continue to hold it. Okay? And where it's coming from.
Am I supposed to answer that, or is that information you're getting?
Because I'm getting. No.
Because I don't know.
It's actually coming from the conscious mind. It's almost like the soul doesn't want it, the subconscious mind doesn't want it, but the conscious mind wants it. And it's sort of as though, in a strange way, what I'm hearing is that it gives you strength. It allows for an anger that you have inside of you that gives you a strength. Does that make any sense to you? Does that have any resonation for you?
Yes, because the anger keeps my mother away. Yes.
Yeah. So this is what we're looking at. So, to answer your question from earlier about how the healing works and if I usurp your free will, and no, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is work with you as to the benefit of releasing this for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what would it be like for you to be able to keep your mother away because it's in your highest alignment and not have to hold this? In other words, do you feel that you have the presence of mind and heart and body to be able to say, in this now, and anything can shift at any moment, in this now, my choice is in my highest alignment to not have this beloved close to me right now? Re-educate.
What would be the question again?
What would it be like for you to be able to not hold this and still be able to keep her away? We'll just simplify it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So, well, I like that idea. I like the idea of being able to not have her around because she's not healthy. So, but to do that without anger, that would be great.
Right. So she's not healthy, but yet what would it be like for you to understand, and I'm sure that on many levels that you do, that you came into this incarnation to choose these lessons, like you said, to be able to learn. And so to answer your question again, with this work, with what we're about to do, you won't need to perpetuate this any further without any further suffering. Is that something that you're amenable to? Does that feel good for you?
Yes.
Would that go against all of your belief systems about having to suffer?
No. Because I used to have that belief system.
Okay.
When I was younger, that, you had to, in order to be tough, you had to go through tough times. But that, I don't carry that anymore. And I welcome like abundance and ease and joy and want that.
Yes. And yet in your field, you have this sort of edge. It's an edge. It does, and it keeps things and people away. It does that. So there's an element of fear that says, well, what if I don't have that anymore? Am I in danger? And this is what we're looking at. So let's see what we can do with that, to know that if you expand into the all that is, there is no such thing as danger, for the only reality is love. And then you are free. The bandwidths of fear are just the illusion of the fall. But that's a whole other, I can go and talk about that for a long time. But okay, going back to this, and this is all for the benefit of obviously you talking about it, and for the listeners, so that they can follow along. Okay. So we're going to do this now. Where do you feel unforgiveness or anger in your body for your mother?
Heart.
Okay. Yeah. Let me know when it shifts, okay? So rate that from a scale of 1 to 10, please.
8.
Okay. Let me know when it shifts, okay? Let us know when it shifts. There's a lot of violence here. Fear. Anger, fury, rage. Hate of life, hate of self. Hate of women. Hate of the mother. Distrust of the mother. Releasing, including all now. Sadness, sorrow. Yes, Nana, speak.
Yep, I would say that I definitely feel something shifted.
We're continuing. There's a few more shifts that are asking to come forth. I'm going to use the aquamarine and the ice blue light, which is the light of the codes that I hold the strongest, as Divine Omniversal Mother, manifestation in form. Yes, with your permission.
You have my permission.
Coming through your crown into the heart, also through the heart. It's coming through various places, also in the belly, in the stomach area, sacral, solar plexus, root, all of it. Okay. Into your heart. It's beaming in different places, so it's not like it's coming.
Yeah, it almost feels like it's a different feeling than what we were doing before, but it's almost a descending feeling in my body.
Mm.
Almost as if the energy is being like flattened like a pancake. It's gentle, it doesn't hurt or anything like that, but it just feels more of a flowing down motion.
in your heart. How does that feel for you?
That feels good.
Okay, so now rate that same energy towards your mother, heart, that feeling.
It just feels very neutral. Doesn't feel like I could be rated.
Neutral is perfect. Neutral is where we want it to be. And neutrality is where you are able to really unravel the secrets of the universe and the secrets within yourself. Anything in polarity is never going to allow the full divinity to manifest.
That makes a lot of sense.
Perfect. So then I would say for today, we are fairly complete. How does that feel for you?
That feels good. Thank you. I appreciate you working with me on that.
You're welcome, of course. It's very important for you when you are kind of by yourself a little bit later to drop back in. There's going to be quite a bit of work that continues. We're going to stay working with you for how long? For another 3 hours or so. So it's important to explain that, I say we because it's all language, right? It's all three-dimensional to begin with, but I am of the collectives, right? I'm not of an I being. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why I say we, but I understand that it's somewhat strange for people, and so I go back and forth and then explain it. So that's it for right now. It feels like that's all that the vessel is able to move through. There's a bit more resistance for releasing all of it, but that will shift naturally.
Good. Well, yeah, and that makes sense because there's a lot of it. So to get used to shifting all of that could be pretty, intense for a person if you've been hanging on to it for a long time. So
exactly, and that's why when I heard from the guides, she's complete, the body is complete, the body has stopped. That means that the body needs to process what has happened, what has occurred, because it was 100% permeation of depth, which it's never had before.
Right. Wonderful. Well, thank you for your patience and thank you for offering to do that. I know that I appreciate it very much. It's an area that I've been trying to heal for many, many years. And for our listeners, I will definitely keep you guys posted on what transpires after this interview with Miananda, and if I am noticing any differences and changes, which I already do, I definitely feel it. So I will definitely keep our listeners up to date too on this experience and what continues to unravel. And thank you for the interview. I know I asked you some tough questions. You got a little bit of my edge, right? Just making sure, because I know we have listeners who are like totally open and they know a lot of this stuff, and there's no belief system that is blocking any of the information that you are giving us. And then I know we have some listeners that are like, bullshit, prove it.
Yeah, well, of course, and that's April, that's completely expected and honored. Everybody's process, everybody's belief system, everybody's level of consciousness is honored and valuable, and it's just a jumping off point. That's all it is. So I'm happy to answer the questions as best as I can transmit them. A lot of them, again, is coming from a rational mind perspective, and none of this is rational. So these are just powers. This is a blessing. This is a blessing to be here through God, through Source, and that's all that there is to say. And really, that's it. It comes in cycles. When Earth is going through a huge solar cycle or a huge cosmic cycle, this is when Divine Mother shows up. This is when we come. And so this is why we're here now, because this is a huge cycle of rebirth, rebirth and liberation for everyone. And remember, time happens in different is completely different in the celestial world. So what seems like thousands upon thousands of years, or, eons of time here, happens at a very different pace and a very different rate. So what feels like forever for you, really, in the grand scheme of the grand design, is actually quite quick. And so that's also a perspective to take on and to understand. Remembering that the world outside of you is a reflection of you. And those of you who say, well, no, this isn't real, it's not true. Well, this is why there's terrorism in the world. This is why you're seeing what you're seeing. And this is why so many beloveds are unable to handle the new acceleration of energies and are either choosing to end their lives in a physical, clear, activated, manifested way, or are having their souls choose that and are leaving in groups for different purposes. So check your heart on all of this and understand that it is those who are the naysayers that create it. Yeah, there's the irony of it. And right. I appreciate all of your many sides, April. The edge, the sweetness, the openness, the taking care of the listeners who would want to ask the tough questions as well. So it's all perfect. It's all in divine alignment, all of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know that you have to run and you have a show that you're going to be doing. And listeners, you can find out more information at miananda.com. That's spelled MIANANDA.com. So thanks again. Thanks for all the beautiful work that you guys are doing.
We love you all. Sacred blessings to everyone on this is a new moon also. So I'll just say it's a new moon and it's a black moon, which is a wonderful time to call in anything that's in your heart's dreaming. You can do something as simple as light a candle, sit with your thoughts. Remember, your thoughts are not the magnetic aspect of what you bring in. It's actually your emotions for the electromagnetic field. So I know a lot of people say, think something and it'll happen. No, it's actually the magnetics that create it, which is the emotions that you give to those thoughts. So if anything that you really want in your heart's dreaming, today's a great time to call that in, bring that in. Use essential oils, lavender, rose, anything that opens and activates through love. Blessings to all. Bye, April.
Bye, Miananda. Thank you. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that show, and don't forget to sign up for our premium service with over 100 hours of interviews, as well as our new segments such as 2-Minute Tuesdays, Food for Thought Fridays, as well as the virtual book club on Thursdays. All of these extra segments are only available for our premium subscribers. Visit the podcast section of our website at path11productions.com to learn more, or to start your subscription for only $3.99 a month. If you're not interested in a premium subscription, you can still use our smartphone app for both Android and iPhones. Just search for Path 11 in the Google Play App Store, or if on an iPhone, look for Path 11 in the iOS App Store. Of course, you can still catch our latest 5 interview shows at any time by subscribing to the Path 11 podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and iHeartRadio. If you want more information about our films, visit our website, path11productions.com, to purchase DVDs or to rent and stream each film. You can also find our trilogy of films on iTunes, Amazon Prime, and Gaia.com. Catch you next time.